Thank you for joining us on this edition of the program. Today, we are talking about business and more precisely e-commerce. We are looking at the potentials, the opportunities that can be extracted, that can be explored by individuals and nations. We are also looking at what is known as business valuation. We are looking at this very important or key aspect in business success. And we wanted to meet our guests in some few seconds. Our guest today is ACHILLE EKEU. He is a U.S. citizen of Cameroonian origin and seasoned business valuation expert with over 25 years of experience in banking and corporate finance. He is the founder, chairman, and managing director of the Washington, D.C.-based investment bank, the Washington Valuation Group, specialized in business valuation and tax and litigation purposes. He is a former regional bank manager for PNC Bank and Chevy Chase Bank and business school professor at various universities and colleges in the United States of America. In 2018, ACHILLE was elected to the board of directors of the National Association of Certified Valuators and Analysts, NACVA, and served on the Valuation Credentialing Board for 4 years. In the same year, he was also elected NACVA president for the states of Maryland and Washington, D.C. for 4 years as well. He was elected NACVA member of the year in 2019 and state chapter president of the year in 2020. ACHILLE EKEU is the author of 2 books on business valuation, 30 frequently asked questions in business valuation, and the newly released book From Beginning to Pro E-commerce Business Valuation Strategies for Online Sellers, with case studies, published August 15, 2024. He is a frequent contributor to numerous peer-reviewed journals, specializing in corporate finance and business valuation on his blog. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jonathan Bugila, for the invitation. This is my first time on Equinoxe Television Live. It's a pleasure to be part of this phenomenal television show, television program, and I'm glad to be invited to talk about these different issues today. Thank you very much.
All right, if you will just sit back. If you just sit back on your seat, it will help us, because when you come to the fore, your head will be somehow, yeah, good. That's excellent. All right, let's begin with your analysis of the Trump administrative tariff increase, notably with regards to African nations. What is your perspective on these, the increase on tariffs on some African nations, on African nations in general, have, however, been suspended for 90 days. But let's look at the impact of this on African nations in particular.
Well, the Trump administration's tariffs represent a stark reminder of the enduring inequities in global trade relations today, particularly with Africa, with regard to Africa. By imposing sweeping duties on African exports, we talk about up to 50% in some cases. The U.S. has effectively dismantled the African Growth Opportunity Act, the AGOA, that have been, a lifeline, for many African economies. So this move not only undermines, the decade of differential trade agreements, but also exposes the continent as a whole, the African continent, to severe economic shocks eventually from factory closures, in countries like Lesotho, to disruptions in South Africa, especially in the automotive sector there. So these tariffs are framed as by the Trump administration as reciprocal, yet they fail to account for the structural imbalances, that have historically disadvantaged the African continent in terms of trade. So instead of fostering equitable partnerships, this new policy from the Trump administration reinforces a neo-colonial dynamic, where African countries or Africa in general is penalized for its dependence on raw material exports, while being denied access to value-added markets. So, from a Pan-Africanist perspective, these tariffs should serve as the wake-up call for the continent to really reimagine its place in the global economy, so that rather than relying on Western markets that can arbitrarily accelerate its pivot towards intra-continental trade through the framework that we have in place right now, the AFTA, trade with the African Continental Free Trade Area. So that's the way I think, by building regional value chains and reducing dependence on external markets, African countries can chart a path, towards economic sovereignty. Moreover, this moment also demands unified actions from African leaders to push back against exploitative trade policies that has been ongoing, in the global world for the foreseeable past. So the erosion of AGOA by these new Trump policies underscores the reliance, the urgent self-reliance that African continent has to have, and solidarity, I may add, towards trading together, as the continent navigates an increasingly difficult global trade order.
The decision of the U.S. administration has been suspended for 90 days for other countries except China, including African nations, of course. But after 90 days, all of these will come back to force. How do you think African nations should respond to this?
Well, I think we have to continue to think that the Trump administration it's very irresponsible in making some of these decisions. You can't just get up in the morning, impose tariff on the whole world, and when the stock market, when the market goes south, and you start seeing data that are going crazy. For example, normally when the stock market goes down, the bond market should be going up. But what we've seen is that as the stock market was going down, the bonds market also was going down. And that's what scared the Trump administration, because what it means is that countries who own a lot of U.S. debt, they've decided to also sell the U.S. dollars and sell those bonds as well. So that means they've been selling those bonds as the stock market was declining, and that really hit very hard in the Trump administration, where that's why they had a wake-up call and decided to reverse policies. That's why we in Africa, we have to continue to trust working together, because that's the only solution for us to be able to survive, these decisions, those outrageous decisions taken by the Trump administration. And so what African countries have to do now that we know that it's been suspended for 90 days, well, it's not gone. So what it means is that we have to be prepared to deal with those issues in a way that we've never done before.
All right, we go into the newsstands now, and we're looking at what the newspapers reported this week. When we come back, we're talking about e-commerce and business valuation. Stay with us. This is Press Review. The Voice reports that amidst the trade conflict between the United States and countries like China, the Trump administration ends safe haven for 7,900 Cameroonians. And the Trump administration's decision to end temporary protected status, TPS, for 7,900 Cameroonians has created a wave of anxiety and fear within the Cameroonian diaspora in the United States. And the Sun says Trump's termination of temporary protected status, TPS, for 7,900 Cameroonian immigrants leaves their U.S. stay hanging after June 2025. In the same vein, the Herald Tribune reports that the ambassador of the United States to Cameroon warns against illegal immigration. The resident United States ambassador to Cameroon, Christopher Lamora, has raised the alarm on the dangers of illegal immigration to the United States, emphasizing that the risk far outweigh any potential benefits. The Guardian Post, Makak Brigade Commander rejects Dio's order to arrest Akere Muna. Presidential hopeful uses press dinner in Yaoundé with Anglophone journalists to expatiate his vision for the country. First 100 days goals to overhaul state apparatus if voted as head of state. And the Horizon reports Akere Muna's nationwide consultation tour. In the meantime, President Paul Biya calls for unity and living together in his recent social media communication trend, as reported by Cameroon Tribune. Ahead of the May 20 National Day celebration, the Median reports security assessment carried out by top security officials led by Minister Delegate at the Presidency in charge of Defense, Joseph Betia Song, indicating that the country is moving towards a hitch-free National Day celebration. On the front page of The Advocate, National Finasco League B Games, Limbe City Mayor receives touch, Basic Education Minister impressed with mobilization, Kumba School for IDPs represents Southwest in women's football. Thank you for staying with us. We're still with our guest, ACHILLE, EKEU, a U.S. Citizen of Cameroonian origin and seasoned business valuation expert, joining us from the United States of America. Now, let's talk about e-commerce. This is something that is not yet very much practiced to the level where it is practiced in the United States, in France, in other Western nations. In African countries, e-commerce is still developing. Now, we want to get into the potentials, the opportunities in this dimension of business. Can you give us an understanding of the potentials, the opportunities in this dimension of business?
Right. So thank you so much for the question. I wrote this book that I have here, 30 frequently asked questions from beginner to pro, e-commerce business valuation strategies for online sellers. This book is really because I've noticed that e-commerce is one area in Africa where we're lagging, in a very scary way. Sorry. And this is due to the fact that we lack infrastructures. Internet is very sparse in Africa, and the structures, the laws, and everything is not necessarily in place to be able to promote that way of doing commerce. But if we live in a global economy today, well, we have to take advantage of that global economy. And the one way for Africa to take advantage of that is to be able to do commerce online. The beauty of doing commerce online is that you don't need a lot of money to get started, but you have the whole world as your potential clients. You can open up a store online on the website and put your products online and then advertise online and start selling. And people can buy from any parts of the world. Now, your challenge is going to be how to deliver my goods to those people. So you have to partner necessarily with companies that do transportation, so they can take your products from your location to wherever your plants are in the world. So that is the area. So I wanted to make sure that African countries understand that the global e-commerce market is very massive right now, and it continues to grow rapidly. In 2024, to give you some statistics, it was estimated to be at $16 trillion, and is projected to reach $75 trillion by 2034. So that means the growth is really fueled by increasing internet access by different parts of the world, the convenience of online shopping. People like to shop online, and the rise of mobile technology that is better and better every day. So let's look at the statistics as a whole in the global market. In 2023, it was estimated, the e-commerce market was estimated to be around 16 trillion, just like I said. In 2024, it's estimated to be $18 trillion. In 2034, in 10 years, it's projected to surpass $75 trillion, which is enormous. It's an enormous market that's available. And so we in Africa have to do whatever it takes to be able to provide the structure, at least the internet access to people, encourage them to do that commerce, because it will bring a lot of revenue for companies, bring a lot of revenue in terms of taxes for government, and that allows those taxes will allow government to develop, to build roads, hospitals, and things like that, and employ people. So it's a sector that we need not to neglect. Africa has a lot of things to offer to the world through e-commerce. We just have to find partnerships, with companies that can help us transport those products from where they are in Africa, whatever remote area we are, to the different clients that could be in Germany, that could be in Brazil, that could be in China, wherever they are. So e-commerce is an essential part of e-commerce today, and not taking advantage of that opportunity in Africa is going to be difficult for us. So we need to talk about it more. We need to talk about it in a way that allows governments, different partners, different stakeholders to be able to work as a team, in an ecosystem to be able to develop that industry.
From your book, From Beginner to Pro E-commerce, Business Valuation, Strategies for Online Sellers, is a product of an observation. And you said earlier that the observation is that Africans or African nations are still lagging behind in terms of e-commerce, in terms of this global dimension of business. What accounts for that?
Right. Well, there are so many important benefits that our countries, should take advantage of, especially first the global reach. I mentioned the global reach, meaning the e-commerce today enables businesses to have access to clients, to customers worldwide, right? So this is without limitations of geographical boundaries, right? So that global reach allows different sellers to tap into broader markets, increasing potential revenues and customer acquisitions. So that is one important point. The second point to encourage e-commerce is the cost efficiency. Operating an e-commerce business is typically very simple. It involves lower overhead costs, compared to running a physical stores, right? So expenses such as rent, utilities, and staffing can be significantly reduced, right? So leading to higher profit margins at the end of the day. So, and the third point is scalability, right? Scalability. E-commerce platforms nowadays offer flexibility and scalability, that allow business owners to quickly respond to market trends, and also expand operations without significant financial constraints. So sellers, can easily, add new products, to their inventory, or new services, to adjust their strategies as needed to be able to reach clients around the world and keep those clients, definitely, because at the end of the day, it's about keeping your clients and selling more to those. E-commerce also it provides online selling support, because it helps provide different. If you put in place, marketing strategies, adequate marketing strategies, that will enable your business to reach specific niche. For example, niche market, people of certain age. If you want to sell your products to a specific group of people, like people of certain age, people, whether it's young people or people of middle age or senior people, you can target your campaign to reach those people and target your product to reach those people. So it provides opportunities nowadays through social media to be able to connect with those potential clients. So you have that possibility of marketing easily online. So it's a lot of possibilities that are available for business owners who do business online.
Right, you were answering the question how to encourage e-commerce in African nations. Now, let's proceed to talk about this. In your book, From Beginner to Pro E-commerce, Business Valuation Strategies for Online Sellers, you're also talking about business valuation. What is it all about, business valuation?
Right. Business valuation is the area where I specialize on. I have been a banker. I worked for several banks in Washington, PNC Bank, where I was a bank manager, and then I became a regional manager. And then prior to that, Chevy Chase Bank, who was purchased by Capital One a few years ago, back in 2008 or 2009, something like that. But that experience that I got from working at the bank, gave me the opportunity to understand the market and understand that many companies that come to the bank to get financing for their business, whether it was business expansion or just to run their business on a day-to-day basis, many of those companies get denied loans, right? Why do they get denied loans? Because banks want to make sure that they can recoup their money, right? So if you come and ask for a loan from a bank, they're going to do their calculations and then figure out, your debt to income ratio and try to see what your capacity to repay the loan. So if you ask for, let's say, $100,000, let's take it as in dollars. You ask for $100,000, and based on the analysis that the bank has done and figure that you're not able to repay that $100,000, they may give you $50,000 or $30,000, something like that. But in some cases, they deny. Why? Because the bank is not convinced that you are able to repay your loan. So in my analysis, working at the bank, I figured if we can advise business owners to do what's called a business valuation, and this is a term that is very, a lot of people don't understand it, don't hear it a lot. Business valuation is also called business appraisal. It allows, if you do a business appraisal, then you add that appraisal to your business loan application, then there is a probability that your loan could be approved. Especially if your company has a lot of value, because see, the bank now has a collateral. No, it's not necessarily requested. The bank doesn't ask for business valuation, but if you provide that information in addition to what the bank is asking in terms of information from your business, then it gives the underwriter of the bank the opportunity to say, okay, this company they don't meet our criteria, but they have collateral, meaning their company is worth, enough for us to be able to see the company, sell it, and then recoup our money. So in providing that information, that additional, information to the underwriter, then many companies were able to get their loans approved. So that's why I decided to leave the bank. I left the bank in 2010 to open my own consulting firm and to specialize in business valuation. Since that time, it's been 15 years now, we've been providing business valuation services to clients all over the world, especially for people who are looking to sell their business or to acquire new businesses, or in cases of estate and gift tax, for example, in a case of acquisition, in
All right,
cases of divorce.
we have just a few minutes to go. In your book, you're also talking about the importance of business valuation in terms of decision making, the growth and the success for businesses. Now we're taking interviews of the week, and we'll be right back in a moment.
Very dangerous for us, because as a transporters, when they are doing overload, it affects all the transport sector, transport of people, transport of even other citizens. So we think that this corruption start at the ministries when they deliver this document, so that they should kill the roads. Because when you see now, we make Douala to Yaoundé is 272 kilometers. We make 7 hours, where we were making 5 hours with the measure of the Minister of Transport. There is a problem. This many accidents you see on our roads. Vehicles have been spoiled. Now, every transporters they're falling in bankruptcy because they cannot follow this corruption. We want the two ministers in charge of roads and transport to stop delivering this authorization. That is the first thing. The special authorization. To give this special authorization, they should put a commission that will even look at if these lorries that they are coming to ask this authorization have heavy loans.
Combined 59 villages, and quite a number of villages are still not accessible. So for this reason, they are not very much informed, and they don't even follow the radio signals because of the poor network situation. So that is why I say that there is some social injustice as well as violation of fundamental human rights.
The government decided that it was going to be giving 15% of the state budget to the councils. The lot of 8% is given to the councils. The normal CAC that the government sends to the council, the government is still going to the council about 2 years arrears. The money doesn't come regular. Before the money comes, the council has already accumulated salaries for workers.
Right, we are concluding with this edition of the program. ACHILLE, business valuation expert. Let's conclude with this. What are the major importance of business valuation to a company? We've talked about that. Now, how is it done? By who?
Right. The importance of business valuation is something that cannot be understated, right? If you want to sell your business, at some point when you open a business, the idea is probably to run it. At a certain point, you can sell it to someone, collect the money that you've earned, in the equity that you've earned, and then probably go to retirement, or maybe go to another venture if you're young enough to be able to get another venture. So it's a very important process. Is the process of determining the value of a company, the economic value of a company, right? And that process is done through different steps. There are methodologies to that, and that's why we are certified to be able to provide that service. And our services are also delivered to the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, the Department of Treasury of the United States. We also go to court. We work with the court system in the United States also, especially for cases of litigation. We have what's called the asset approach. There are different approaches that we use. The asset approach is an approach to determine the value that is based on the overall value of all the assets of a company minus its total liability, right? And then secondly, we have the income approach. The income approach is determine the value of a company based on the revenue potential generation of that company that is projected in the future and then brought back to present time. Okay, so that's the income approach. And we have also the market approach, which is equivalent to looking for companies in the same industry, in the same area that sold for the past 5 or 10 years. And then we can, based on that information, determine the value of the company.
Thank you so much, ACHILLE, for the insights you've shared with us in this edition of the program. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this special program. We're looking at the development strides of the Central African Republic with the support of her development partners. Focus on the agro-industrial sector, a sector with a lot of potentials, a sector receiving a significant push from a multi-million-dollar industrial conglomerate, Mahashati Group, and its chairman and managing director, T. Rajkumar, is our guest today. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you, sir.
Right, this is your first time visiting Africa.
Yes.
And of course, the Central African Republic.
Yes.
You've been here for some days now. You've met with some Central Africans, including some top authorities like the President of the Republic and some ministers. You had a meal also. Can you tell us your perception of this country?
Central African Republic is a great country with a lot of potentials and with a lot of natural resources. I'm extremely pleased to meet the Honorable President of the country, along with his cabinet colleagues, and I had a very, very useful discussion with them. And I'm also extremely happy on their hospitality provided to me and my team. And today I had a very, very fruitful discussion with His Excellency, the President of the Central African Republic, and his entire cabinet colleagues.
Right. So the Central African Republic is described as the place where God hid his treasures, making reference there to the huge economic potentials of the country. What is your assessment of the country's potentials that attracted you to come and invest here, and more particularly in the agro-industrial sector?
Mahashati Group has been in the agro industry since 1950s, and we have the expertise in sugar production, and cassava is also similar to sugar production. We really thought Central African Republic has the real climate similar to India and all the potentials for growing sugar cane, which can be a big boon to the country. As such, the agro industry, like India has developed only because of the agro industries. Any country to move forward needs agro-based industry, whereby it supports the economy and the farmers and the people, and it doubles the income of the farming community, thereby the economy improves and the whole country improves.
Now, Mahashati Group has a robust market presence across multiple industrial sectors, including the textile sector, poultry, real estate, renewable energy, and others. But you've chosen to invest in the Central African Republic in the cultivation and transformation of sugarcane and cassava. Give us an understanding of this choice.
To be very honest, the entire African nations are deficit in sugar production, and sugar as such has got tremendous potential in the entire African continent. For example, when we cultivate the sugarcane, what happens to Central African Republic is that mostly close to 5,000 people will get employment in both the sugar and cassava industry directly. Indirectly, you will have 20,000 people getting indirect employment opportunities. And also for the farmers, around 2,000 to 3,000 farmers will be directly benefited, and around 15,000 farmers will be indirectly benefited. Thereby what happens is the economy grows, the farmers get good income, and this cultivation brings in stability. Cassava again is a staple food crop for the country, and 3 different activities in sugar happens. One is the sugar production. Number 2 is the power generation. We are planning a 60 megawatt cogeneration power out of the sugar production and cassava production. And thirdly, you also have ethanol, which is very, very important today for the whole planet because it's a very, very clean energy.
And you're visiting the Central African Republic for the signing of a partnership agreement, which is described as a strategic partnership agreement with the government of the Central African Republic. Tell us about this agreement.
Yes. In fact, our team visited Central African Republic around 6 months back, and they made assessments, visited the farms and fields, and they also visited the Sugarcane Institute over here, and they stayed here for more than a week and went around. See, basically, this partnership is going to give a great thrust for both our group and for the country. And this can lead other investments to come into the country, because we are getting into this country with $1 billion investment, which can be of a great help for the Central African Republic, and we are getting all support from the government for going forward.
Now, about the financial package, what is the monetary value of this project? Or in other words, how much are you investing? How much is your company investing in this project?
The total investment over a period will be close to $1 billion. 1 billion American US dollars will be the amount of investment which the company will be bringing into the country over a period of time. It will come in stages. For example, when we implement cassava and when we implement sugar, on phases, it will be a $1 billion investment into the country.
$1 billion investment. Now, still about the investment. Can you tell us, is it just your company that's bringing in the money, or how will
it will be a combination of debt, it will be a combination of fundraising, and it will be with the Mahashakti's strength, we will be able to raise the money to bring into the country.
All right. So, can you give us some estimates of expected value creation, wealth creation, job creation that should come out of this project?
The wealth creation will be great for the country, because any asset created for any nation, it is the nation's asset. When I say when you have an ultra-modern sugar factory, you are going to have a great asset to the nation. When you have the cassava and the gas production and the power, it's going to be a great asset to the nation. Number two, the farmers are organized. Today, tomorrow, you will have the microfinances coming inside, along with the sugar factory, which will guarantee the microfinances for the farmers. So the farmers' livelihood will go up. And when I mean when you have 5,000 direct jobs, you are going to have 5,000 employment directly into the company. And 20,000 jobs is like the trucks carrying various materials out of the factories, the spare parts and other things which are coming into the country. You'll have close to around 20,000 indirect jobs, both in cassava and in sugar. And thereby, when the investment of $1 billion, when it moves into the country in stages, it also creates great wealth. And unlike other sectors, this sector is going to serve the nation. It's not like something is being taken away from the nation. It's here which is being brought into the nation, and an asset is created for this. Apart from this, today when we met His Excellency, the President of Central African Republic, we are also told that when we do this, we will also be bringing in an agricultural college to train the local people and get the local students study BSc agriculture, which the Mahashakti group will also be supporting.
All right. Now let's talk about the execution of the project. Give us the timeline and how it will be done.
Basically, what we will be doing is immediately we have invited the ministers to visit India by end of May, for them to come there to see the sugar factories and other production of power, sugarcane production and electricity production, for them to see for themselves. And probably our team will move in by early July over here for the assessment and other things. I think for the first 4 or 5 months, the investments will start coming inside step by step, because first we'll assess the lands, and second the land development will start, third the factory development will start, and fourth the equipments will move inside, and it's going to come one by one.
How much of local labor force are you going to use, especially in the transformation part of the project?
I think immediately 30 to 40% will be from local. As we train, we plan to take them up to 75-80% of the local labor. Ultimately, the local labor and the local people have to have the opportunity of working in this project.
Are you also thinking and working in the perspective of transfer of technology? You mentioned training. Right.
Yes, we will see a very good advantage is that the Mahashakti group and the Shakti group has got a lot of colleges in India. Today in India, close to 30,000 students study in all our colleges. We have from schools, engineering colleges, arts and science colleges, agriculture colleges, polytechnics. So that will be a great advantage for the students of Central African Republic also to get trained over here and there. So the technology transfer will be very easy.
Right. Africa First Holdings, Afriland First Holdings played an important role for us to get to this point. Tell us about your collaboration with Afriland First Holdings.
Yeah, Afriland First Bank Chairman Dr. Fokam is a great friend of us. And Dr. Fokam University and our Kumaraguru University are working together already in Cameroon. And we envisage to bring the same system into Central African Republic. Dr. Fokam is known to all of us for more than 10 years. And he has visited Coimbatore and we have visited all our factories and he knows us. He's a great friend. I'm so happy that he was instrumental in bringing us into Central African Republic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. We are receiving Dr. Guy Laurent Fonjo. He's the chairman of Afriland First Holdings. Mr. Chairman, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Right, we're talking about the strategic partnership agreement between the government of the Central African Republic, or the state, and the Indian company. And of course, this has to do with sugarcane and cassava production and transformation at the industrial scale. Now, tell us, Afriland First Holdings facilitated the sugarcane and cassava industrial cultivation and transformation project in the Central African Republic. How did you go about this?
Yes, thank you very much. Afriland First Holdings play a role what I would call an active facilitator, because it is not only linking the government and the company, Mahashakti Group, but it is more than that. So we started by meeting the government, especially the President of the Republic, Professor Touadéra, and asking him, what are the needs of your population? What is the vision? What do you think can be suitable to your population? And what are your priorities? And he said, please look at agriculture, and especially cassava and sugarcane. And then we made the studies on how the industry of cassava and sugarcane can impact the population, not only at the level of the company investing, but also at the level of individuals of the country. So we made the study, the feasibility study. Based on the feasibility study, we had the agreement, the approval of the head of state to go ahead and look for partners. And then we went out to look for partners. And that is where we met Mahashakti Group some years back. And we went there, we traveled to India to see, to touch, and to smell what they were doing. And we noticed that it was a company that was well skilled, that has more than 100 years in the sugarcane industry. We visit some of their plants. They have 6 plants, and they produce thousands of tons of sugar every day. So based on that, on our partnership we have with them and the relationship we have with them, we came back and told the president that we have found a right partner for the government. And that is why we started the negotiation, and we reached to the agreement that was signed. And now the next step is to implement.
Right, you already started answering my next question about your due diligence. You did your due diligence. Now tell us more about the facts that enabled you to ascertain the credibility and competence of Mahashakti Group to handle this project.
First of all, Mahashakti Group is not a new group for us. We have been in partnership since a couple of years. And also is one of the biggest group in India. And in the sugarcane industry, they are the first in India. And what really attracts us is their model. It is not only about producing sugar from a given company and selling it. We also notice that they have social impact of what they were doing. And that really fits with our policy and our strategy. So what will happen is that when Mars Actigo will create that company, then they will have, for example, for the sugar plant, they need 20 hectares of land. The 20 hectares will be split into two. 10 hectares will belong to Mars Actigo, and 10 hectares will be shared among the population. There are some population, local farmer, who will take 5 hectares, 10 hectares, 20 hectares, depending on their capability. And they will be able to also produce sugar cane that will be sold to Marsati Group. And Marsati Group will bring them technical assistance in terms of fertilizer, in terms of their agricultural techniques, and in terms of training them. And when they will have that, with that training, they'll be able to increase their production yield. And their farm will be more profitable because they will have a buyer of all their production, that is Marsati Group. And there will also be a mechanism of financing all that, because we will have a microbank that will be created by the population, the local population, and through that microbank, they will be receiving financing. And when they sell their production to Marsati, Marsati will pay back to the microfinance institution that will take the loan for reimbursement and give them back what is remaining for their daily needs. So you see that we'll come out with a virtual circle of economic and social development. So it is not just a project for producing sugarcane. It is an integrated social and economical project.
Apart from facilitating the project, what else is Freeland First Holdings bringing in terms of input?
We brought in our expertise in terms of research, feasibility study. We did a lot of studies. We brought in our network of partners because we have many partners. And in the case of sugar cane and cassava, the partner that we suggested to the government is Marsati. We have also some financial partner that we will bring in. So we are there to facilitate, to find solutions to problems that are brought to us. So this is a solution to a problem that was brought to us. There are also many other problems that we are looking for solutions, and that is how we'll be helping Central African Republic to really take off his economic development.
Are you also considering putting in finances to contribute in the huge package that is required for this project?
The financing is also one of the leverage that we'll be doing in terms of finding financial partners. That you see, it is a $1.2 billion investment. And if you know the GDP, it is half the GDP of this country. So you have a real impact on the social economic development of this country.
Right, so let's conclude with this. What is Freeland First Holdings looking forward to achieving this project? It is just business as usual, or you have other objectives, social objectives that you want to achieve?
It is a mix of business and social. You cannot do business. We believe that economic business should be supported by social, because if people are not socially well, you cannot have a sustainable business. So that is why, but to have a sustainable social support, you need to be economically strong. So that is why we balance between economic and social development of the population.
All right, before we go, how important and strategic is this project to the Central African Republic, its head of state, and why not the continent at large?
You are right. We are not only doing it for Central African Republic. It is a start. We are going to implement it here. We are also working on other African countries, and our goal is really to bring that social development take up in all African countries so that Africa can be one of the leaders in the economy of the world.
Thank you very much for your time.
You are welcome.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us.